This is Fred Beck and Fred Fighting. I'm in the public workouts today, joined by Alexis, KSI's coach. It's good to see you once again, Alexis. What have you been up to?
Training, just working hard.
It never changes.
Working hard. We've got lots of guys fighting at the moment, and obviously a huge fight for KSI, so we've been on it.
How do you manage to balance your time? I suppose the KSI right now is a priority. It's his fight week. But how do you manage to balance KSI's time between all the other fighters you got down at London Street Fighters?
Yeah, we've got nearly 50 pros. We manage it by having lots of good coaches as well. And we all regularly meet and talk about what we need to do and then adjust, and whichever coaches need to spend more specific time with specific guys. That's what we do. I mean, I've got guys in France right now, and I've sent a team out there to corner one of my other fighters. And then we've got, obviously, public workouts and weigh-ins tomorrow, and then fighting. Weigh-ins on Friday and fights on Saturday. And then we back out to Czech Republic for another fight.
Oh, wow. When do you fly out there?
I'll fly out there on Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay. Busy. Don't have much time to recover. Let's talk about the main man, KSI. He's fighting this weekend, Joe Fournier. You've cornered a fighter against Joe before. That's correct, I guess, David Hay. Yeah. How do you approach this fight differently now?
Yeah, look, I mean, one was for want of a better word, a friendly exhibition, and this one's to the bone. This one's a proper fight. Like in 10-ounce gloves, guys are going to try and kill each other. So it's a very different kind of scenario. But we've been JJ sparred loads and loads of rounds, training really, really well. Best he's ever looked, fittest he's ever been, strongest he's ever been. Best sparring partners he's ever had. Doing consecutive rounds, so he looks good.
How much does JJ improve each camp, and how much do you have to make sure, as a coach, obviously your head coach, that he keeps momentum moving and keeps moving up?
Yeah, the good thing about numbers are easy to achieve. Once you get a number, when you run, you have to beat that number. Once you lift a certain amount, you've got to lift more than that. When it comes to sparring, it's a little bit different, but kind of similar in that if you're winning the spars, then you're doing a good job. So the guys that he was struggling with before, he's beating now. And also,
so you level up the sparring partners.
Always, yeah, you have to. You have to level up the sparring partners, level up the rounds, workloads, and also you score those spars like fights. So he knows where he's at. Coming back to the ring and he had a bad round, he's getting told, you had a bad round where 1 down, 2 down, we need to get this back, you've got to do this and that, go.
One of the questions I got for you, I asked the Mams, how come this fight is only 6 rounds and not 8 rounds? He said, that's down to the coach, which is yourself. So how come this fight isn't 8 rounds, considering that Jake Paul's doing 8 rounds now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, arguably Jake didn't do 8 rounds very well. They were terrible. There was a terrible 8 rounds. I think that should have been a 6 round, and you'd probably got a better fight. Maybe Jake would have won it as well. I mean, I don't necessarily think that 8 rounds for guys that haven't got boxing school to do 8 rounds. Like, you get pros that are really good. They're doing 4 rounders and 6 rounders, and they're turning over. Remember, you don't do a 12 rounder until you're fighting for a title. 8 rounds is a lot of work to do for a guy who's had 4 or 5 fights. It's not something that's done in British Boxing Board of Control, let alone on the influencer scene. So it's not that you can't do it, but I think that you want the quality rounds rather than the quantity. On that note, I think that's not what Misfits is about. I think the Misfits is about putting on great fights, great shows, condensed into it rather than longing them out.
Hence why lots of the fights are 4 rounds then. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think the main events are going to be 6 rounders. Obviously, if it's not a problem doing an 8 rounder. If it's fighting Jake Paul with 8 rounds, it's not a problem. But I just thought that the rounds that they did weren't that good comparative, and I thought it would have been different if it was 6 rounder. So I think the pace changes dramatically.
Jake Paul's fighting Nate Diaz. I guess you're in the MMA is your perfect part guy to bring the fight down. Did you have a chance to see the press conference at all there?
Parts of it, not all of it, but parts of it. It's normal Nate, normal Jake.
But the only reason I say that, I don't normally ask about press conferences. The only reason I say that is a lot of people say how tired Nate looked and how he couldn't be bothered. How do you think Nate Diaz will approach the fight with Jake Paul?
I think like all of these guys are approaching those fights, they're off of their careers, they're off of their peaks. So it's not like a Tommy Fury who had composure, who had aggression, who was animated, who wanted it. You got these guys that are just trying to make a paycheck, which I get.
But I'll play devil's advocate. You could argue that Joe Fournier, 40 years old, he's off his peak.
100%. The difference is he's not coming off of losses.
Yeah.
He's 9-0 and won the same belt that Joshua Barty has. So you've got to give him some sort of respect. I agree with you in that one of the reasons why we took the fight is because he's not at his prime. In that he's still got 9-0. Like, I mean, you look at all the boxers nowadays that they're not fighting 9-0 guys in their first 4 or 5 fights. They're fighting guys 2-26. So no matter what happens, even though Joe started boxing late, as did the juggernaut Joe Joyce. He started in his 30s as well. He's 38. Arguably two different specimens, but age-wise, Joe started when he was late as well. So I don't think he's got the mileage on him that a lot of these guys have. So when you look at Tyron Woodley, he's got mileage on him. But you look at Joe Fournier, he doesn't have any mileage on him. So I think you also got to go with, he's older, which is why youth is great. It's on our side, amazing, we want that. And many things is on our side as possible we want, but ultimately he hasn't got the mileage on him that someone like Tyron Woodley has.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a good point there. Let's move on. Say KSI wins this Saturday, which I guess you as a team do expect. Do you think August is the next day he'll be out? Do you want to keep him active?
Yeah, back to back. Back to back. I think if you want to secure these big fights, I think you can't really let people run around and sign other fights. I mean, like I said, we asked for the Jake Paul fight, and he didn't want that fight. He didn't want the Tommy Fury rematch either, which is super strange considering that's the fight he should have taken, in my opinion, especially considering it was a split loss. So we're trying to get those fights. We're trying to get those big fights. So
Jake Paul didn't want the KSI fight then when it was offered?
We offered it to him. So it was offered for him in December, and he turned it down, and we had already a stadium booked. So.
Okay, that's interesting. Just two more things. For August, I guess the two opponents, if Sol Papi wins this weekend, he could be one. He also got Tommy Fury. As Sol Papi and Tommy Fury, who causes KSI the most problems?
Yeah, I don't think any of them causes a problem. I don't think Sol Papi causes KSI problems. I just think there's a little bit of a difference in levels. All due respect to him, he's a great kid. At Southpaw, people find that awkward, but I think if you have a plan for a Southpaw, you tend not to find it so awkward. But and he can box, which is nice. But I think Tommy's obviously the guy that poses the most amount of problems because he comes from a great fighting family and he can scrap, and obviously he knows how to stay away from that one big punch. But I think there's a difference of him fighting Jake and him fighting KSI. I think KSI's on KSI will get to you. It's not that he's technically this and technically that. He'll just get to you, and then you're forced to fight. And that's what you want to see Tommy Fury in, because if he's forced to fight, I think he comes unstuck a little bit. But if he's allowed to chill out and relax and get behind his jab and throw combinations, you see a good Tommy Fury like he did the other night. But I don't see that happening with JJ. So I think it's going to be a great fight if that's the fight we take next.
And just before I let you go, final prediction for Joe Fournier. How does it play out Saturday night?
If Joe comes out very aggressive, he gets slept early.
Do you expect him to? Sorry, do you expect him to?
Well, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. He either wants to just try and take him out of the game because maybe he doesn't have the cardio to go the whole 6 at a pace, a young man's pace. So when you look at it from a coaching perspective, you think to yourself, maybe he's coming out the block quite hard. If he does that, I think he gets slept early. If he's caging, takes his time, I think it's going to be work to break him down. It'll be hard to find the shot to break him down, but I believe JJ can.
How do you believe Joe will come out of the fight? Do you think he'll come out fast, come out slow, pace it? What do you reckon?
I'm just not too bothered how he comes out. I just know what JJ's going to do. So I think you're just going to see. It should be hard. It should be clinical, and it should just be imposing your will. And when it doesn't, it's about off tempo. It's about a rhythm of a fight. I want JJ to get into his rhythm nice and early, and we should see a fun fight.
But do you think if KSI hurts Joe Fournier, Joe will know how to tie him up? Do you think that'll be an issue at all? Kind of experience, use his man years on him? Yeah,
I definitely think that that's the whole thing about someone like Joe who's 9-0. I think he definitely has experience on his side. He definitely knows how to ride shots and double guard and be strong and grip and change up. But you got to have a referee that's on point. It's a 6-rounder. We want action. That's what we're here for. So if they're going to let clinching go for too long without action, I know they haven't done that before. So it should be. Normally, it's quite the fight turn over quite nicely. So looking forward to it.
Awesome, Alexis. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Happy birthday as well.